Hello and welcome to Access Asia. Coming up, a heat wave in India brings concern about what's next for the country. Climate change is blamed, and the high temperatures could have a dramatic impact on society. Japan under pressure over its treatment of detainees. It comes after a Sri Lankan woman died in a detention center last year. And a former president beats the incumbent in East Timor, veteran politician and Nobel laureate Jose Ramos Horta, back in office. We'll take a closer look at the leader. India's northwest has suffered under a heat wave, but this one is unusually early. The main summer months, April, May, and June, tend to be excruciatingly hot in most parts of the country before monsoon rains come and bring down the temperature. Every year, hundreds die during the heat waves, and the country usually also suffers severe water shortages. The fear this time around is that because of climate change, the heat waves are coming earlier and may be more severe. For more, let's speak to Nagraj Adve, member of the Teachers Against a Climate Crisis and the author of Global Warming in the Indian Context. Thank you, first of all, for speaking to France 24. Could you tell us a little bit more about this weather itself? Just how intense has the heat been?
It's been actually, according to the Indian Meteorological Department, temperatures have been about 6 to 10 degrees above normal in exactly the regions that you're describing in North and Northwest India. The temperatures are currently like 42 or 43 degrees Celsius and projected to reach 45 degrees Celsius in about a week. That is 113 degrees Fahrenheit. That is way, way, way above normal. And is categorized as a severe heat wave in these conditions.
And such heat is very difficult to bear in urban centers. Just tell us, why are the consequences also so alarming and what it means for the people?
Actually, it's affecting 4 categories. It's not just urban areas. One big, huge social category is farmers, particularly marginal farmers, and particularly those who are growing pulses at this time, and also wheat and mangoes in other regions. That's one. The second category, like you're saying, is basically urban people, because we have millions of people working in outdoors, in urban areas. The third category actually is elderly people. Let's not forget. In fact, France suffered that in 2003, in the 2003 heat wave, when thousands of people died in France. Many of them were very old. According to a Lancet study, about 46,000 people died in India who were above 65 in 2019. And the fourth category actually is other species. We tend to focus on human beings, but also other animals, cows, buffaloes, birds, so many other innumerable species of which are not so often reported, also facing the consequences of this heat wave. And typically in both urban areas and farmers, it tends to affect the poor, the small farmers far more in terms of productivity, incomes, health, etc.
And speaking about the farmers, I'd like to stay on that segment of the population. In the past, they've been quite influential, crucial, a mobile group that can protest. Just wondering if you think this might lead to any discontentment among them.
See, they just try to cope, I'm afraid. In that sense, climate change or excess heat is just something that they constantly have to adapt to. It does not become so much a political issue around which they organize, right? So essentially, they're trying to adapt. So they may try to grow, they may try to change the planting of the crop, they may try to grow different kinds of crops. They may have to force to do, in certain areas, those farmers who have access to groundwater are forced to tap more groundwater. But mind you, please bear in mind that half the farmers in India, over half the land, do not have access to irrigation. And typically they are small farmers from underprivileged households. So they face the brunt the most.
I mean, down the road, could this raise pressure on the Prime Minister's ruling party, and what his government might have to do in response?
See, the government and different states, because some of this is not merely the central government, also federal structure, different states like provinces have heat action plans in different cities and regions. They are in 13 states. However, there are many states and regions, including in North, including the region where you mentioned in North, and including in Delhi, where I live, which does not have any kind of heat action plan. And that is something that I think needs to be taken forward with greater intensity. Some parties are trying to respond. Many plans are being revised. But though some things are happening, it's not happening sufficiently.
Nagraj, thank you very much for your time and explaining all of that to us. Nagraj Adve.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Japanese immigration authorities are under pressure over their treatment of detainees. It comes after a 33-year-old Sri Lankan woman died in a detention center last year. Public outrage forced the government to scrap a controversial bill that would have made it easier to deport failed asylum seekers. Our team on the ground has more.
Japanese and dreamed of teaching English in Japan. But a year ago, Wishma died at an immigration centre after officials ignored her pleas for medical help. Now her family have flown from Sri Lanka to attend this Buddhist memorial.
I don't believe that my sister's soul is at peace. I ask you all to pray that she can rest in peace. I'd like to change the law so that this kind of tragedy never happens again.
Wishma's death has triggered a debate about how Japanese authorities treat asylum seekers.
In the last 15 years, 17 people have died in detention centres. When Wishma died, I thought, again. It didn't really surprise me.
Wishma's younger sister has moved to Tokyo to pursue the family's legal action against the Japanese authorities. Wishma had come to Japan in 2017 to study, but stayed on after her visa expired. After her application for asylum was refused, Wishma was detained in 2020 at an immigration centre more akin to a prison. Here, people can be kept for as long as the authorities see fit. She lost 20 kilograms in a few months and complained of stomach pains. Detention centre officers did not believe her.
I didn't even know that my sister had been detained by the immigration services or that she was sick.
A report by the Immigration Services Agency admitted there were problems with the centre's medical system. Every year, around 10,000 people apply for asylum in Japan, but fewer than 100 are accepted. Myo, a member of the Rohingya Muslim minority persecuted in Myanmar, arrived in Japan in 2006, aged 20, with nothing but a small suitcase. Little has changed since then. He's still waiting for a decision on his application for refugee status and is not allowed to work. He has to depend on volunteer groups to survive.
Cake, masks, bread. I live with this, with what they give me. I had a very positive image of Japan. I thought that I would have a real status. Frankly, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't come here.
Japan, the world's third biggest economy, is contending with an ageing population and labour shortages, but it refuses to open the door to mass immigration of the kind seen in Europe. As a result, new arrivals face uncertainty over their futures. But the number of people coming here for work is rising. Now, just under 3 million foreign nationals live in Japan.
Before I came to Japan, I didn't think there would be this many foreigners here.
His friend, also a Rohingya, opened this shop after marrying a naturalised Japanese citizen originally from Myanmar. Many asylum seekers dream of finding a job, but strict rules mean only 1% are in work. Those who are denied asylum are not forced to go home. In many cases, they're given provisional release but banned from working, while others are kept at detention facilities, a practice these campaigners say must end. While Japan defends its tough approach to asylum seekers, the UN has said the country is failing to meet international standards on human rights.
Well, a familiar face back in power in East Timor. Veteran politician and Nobel laureate Jose Ramos Horta has won the presidential election, beating the incumbent Francisco Lu Gutierrez in a landslide. Ramos Horta campaigned on promises to reduce poverty, create jobs, and improve healthcare. One of his biggest challenges, though, will also be to restore stability.
He came out of retirement to run once more. Newly elected President Jose Ramos Horta was a key figure in East Timor's resistance movement until the island nation gained independence from Indonesia in 2002.
The country is free, though not yet fully independent. Stepping down from a formal position does not mean that we are resigning from our responsibilities as citizens.
His efforts in facilitating conflict resolution after decades of violence between separatist groups and the Indonesian army were recognized by a Nobel Peace Prize in 1996. Ramos Horta first served as president from 2007 to 2012, during which he survived an assassination attempt. Now back for a second term, the 72-year-old has big ambitions for the 1.3 million population. He wants East Timor to join the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to boost its standing on the international stage. Domestically, he's promised to reduce poverty, tackle unemployment and improve the health system. Ramos Horta has also pledged to use his 5-year term to break a long-standing deadlock between the country's two main political parties.
I will always pursue dialogue, patiently, relentlessly, to find common ground, to find solutions to the challenges this country faces.
Ramos Horta beat incumbent President Francisco Guterres, who was also a resistance leader. He will be inaugurated on the 20th of May, on the 20th anniversary of East Timor's independence.
It's an unlikely recipe for success that seems to be working. Coachella, Thai rapper Millie, and mango sticky rice. Sales in Thailand jumped after Millie brought a bowl of the popular dessert on stage at Coachella in California earlier this month. And taking a few bites of it, of course, as she performed a song that was aptly titled Mango Sticky Rice. Now, Millie is the first solo Thai artist to perform at the music festival, which draws tens of thousands of fans every year. And the dessert, if you're curious, well, it consists of sweet sticky rice steeped in coconut milk served with ripe mango. And staying with that musical note, Elvis Presley, an American icon, but the king is loved far and wide. Take a listen.
Welcome to the 2022 Elvis Festival.
Now, this is the 29th year the Australian town of Parkes held an Elvis festival. Thousands of hip-shaking, wig-wearing impersonators were eager to attend after it was canceled last year due to COVID-19. They may dress like him, they may dance like him, but only the very best can imitate that American twang. That's it for this edition. Thank you for watching. We'll leave you with these images. Please stay tuned to France 24.
Your loving teddy bear.